Okay guys, can't stress safety enough. I was under there brushing off the weld, wire wheel hooked up. Grinder come flying down to me right in the face. Thank God I had my glasses on. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Project 1 Ton. Headed over to the local body supply store to pick up one of my first parts. There it is there. It's like a 3-minute walk from my house, which is kind of nice. Okay, so quick trip over there. They had our floor extension in stock. Now this is the full piece. Probably not going to need it all, but we'll see. Now this is where I'm at. I got the new panel. It goes in there. I got the wire harness undone from the old floor, and it's funny. It's held in with little sheet metal screws, and so is the kick plate along here, and they just drive sheet metal screws right through the floor pan. Nowadays there'd be a little clip on there that it locks into, and it looks like I managed to save a little rubber bit here around the emergency brake. It screws into this hole here, so that's a bonus. Currently working on lifting this material here. It's some kind of like rubberized mat. Just with the heat gun and the putty knife, you get it to the right temperature, lifts right off, nice, right down here to the existing, because I'm going to have to blow out all these spot welds to get the pieces of what's left of the mount off. So I'm just going to strip that off, and then when I come back I'll be working on blowing these out. Now you can drill these out. That's what most people do, but I got a plasma cutter, and so likely I'll just blow that out, just go around the edge, blow that out with a plasma cutter, zip it off with a chisel underneath, call it a day. We'll see what happens. After I cut through, I went underneath with the air chisel here. This guy here, busted these arms off, and surprisingly bottom of the mount came off, and this is the top portion of the mount. Actually, think about that the other way around. This goes up on top of the frame mount like that, so that's like that, and then this guy's on there, and then that guy's on there. So now I need to recover the nut plate here. Grab a piece of 16 gauge or 620 material, and just going to build a temporary mount. Just a simple box shape put under here to support this part of the cab, because the mount back there's being supported, but when I get to putting that pan in that hole, I've got to get that mount out of the way in order to do it. I separated the mount, and this is all that's left of the mount. The rest of it's all that debris on the ground from the nut plate. I just marked a square on the material. It'll do for now. I don't have to make this mount exactly like the original. This is not a concourse restoration. This has to be functional, not pretty. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'll cut the nut out from the old plate, mark a hole, and weld the old nut onto the new plate. Grind these portions that are left of the old mount off. It's a little rotted here. Just fab up a new piece out of 18 gauge, laminate it right over top, weld it in back here with some better metal. Make up a couple of ears that'll go over to my mount, put my mount in, weld it up, and this part's done. until I get around to doing this part later on. Still needs a little modification, but basically what I did, cut a 1-inch strip, clamped it in with a vice grip there, and at the other end there, cut a piece of 3-inch out of the old box side. Remember I said save material in a previous video. A couple ticky tacks there, ticky tack up there, ready to pull it out, and then I should be able to cut away what I don't need on the back side here. Test fit it again, get a couple more ticky tacks on it, and it should be ready to weld into position. And if I need to, I can fill in this little triangle wedge if I don't think it's strong enough. All welded up. There it is, all ground up, ready to go in. Gonna wipe it down, spray some of this on it. Oh, son of a bitch. When you know it. Final fit, looks good. Looks good. Gonna spray some stuff on it, weld her in. Floor reinforcement all patched up. I was poking around in here with my hammer. Got a hole in the floor, gotta do something with. Got the floor reinforcement fixed up there, and I was working on this cab mount at the same time. This isn't gonna work, guys. Made a bit of an error. It's the fact that this bushing that goes on the frame and attaches to the mount, it actually needs to compress about 3/8 of an inch. So my mount is out 3/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna have to start over on that, which isn't a big deal. I'll save the nut plate that I built. In the meantime, I started to work on fixing the inner rocker, which goes around this door latch post. Now, I cut this rusty section away from the truck and used it to come up with the idea for the replacement piece. Now, the problem is it's out a little bit. This has this rolled edge along here. Mine doesn't, and I made a little bit of an error there, so it actually needs to come further into the underside of the cab. So I'll probably have to slit these sections back out on the ends and extend them this way in order to compensate for that, because I really don't care about that little bit. That's the only little bit that's there, is that rolled piece. I can fill that in with some fiberglass resin and matte possibly, or just load it full of seam sealer. So, but there's a spot weld. There's spot welds that are on here, pinch welds, and they have to be in the right spot when I put this back into place. So I'll catch you up on that in a minute. Ended up cutting this section out of here, and I'm going to replace it with this little 1/4 inch section here. Same on this side, over there, and that should give me the correct distance to spot weld it into the old sill rocker section. tested the fit. Seems to be good. I weld all this up, grind it up, take the pieces I cut off before, put them back on the edges. I got it all tacked in, ground up a little bit. I checked the fit. Fit looks pretty good. So I'm going to finish welding it all up, grind it all up, and I'll show you how it looks under the truck before I weld it in. Up in here, it fits in right in there, just like that. I think that's going to be perfect. Just got to adjust the pitch, roll the edge a little bit, weld it in. I rolled the edge a little bit. That piece goes in there pretty nice. I think that's going to fit pretty nice. Just got to do a little trim along here on the floor pan. Drill a hole here, same on the other side, so I can plug weld it. Should be good to go. There's the piece. Goes in there just like that. I drilled them 2 holes. You can see that one. Grab the welder, plug weld that in. Now that little patch is tacked in. I haven't completely plug welded it. I left it a little bit open on each plug, but it's in there nice and tight. It's solid. I'll fill in this gap when the time comes. Tomorrow I'll start working on fabbing the patch for this piece of the floor to meet up with this new piece of the rocker. Now this is the patch that I'm thinking about, just kind of a simple triangle shape. So I'll make the patch so that it forms to the floor. Pretty simple. This comes almost like up on an angle, so it'll hook up into the first patch on the inner rocker around this doorpost. So this little valley shouldn't be hard to tap in. I cut a piece out, work it till it looks like it's gonna fit. Cut out another piece of the old box side. Fit in there. Patch is pretty much ready to go. Just use the basic body hammer, and a lot of it I beat right here on the truck, on the existing floor pan, to get the shape, because it's pretty solid. It's just a bit cheesy. So pretty much got the shape I want. Now I'll clean this up with the grinder and get some tack welds on it and manipulate it into place, and I'm gonna cut and weld as I go around. Couple tacks on the top, and then I came back here. I slit this with the grinder, and I'm going to put a tack here in the middle and the other end down here. That'll hold this in place, and I'll come back and weld this after. Now, piece is tacked, kind of got carried away. I had to slit it from the back side there. Now I'm going to start from here. I'm going to start cutting in on an angle, about a 45. Taking a little piece of this and a little piece of what's underneath out at the same time, and then push it down till it's flush, and then tack it back in as I work my way around. that piece all cut, tacked in. Doesn't look like much, but there's the old piece that came out while I put in the new piece. So I'll finish welding this all in. All welded up. Looks pretty good. Grind it down, bring it back. Floor patch all ground up. It looks pretty decent. It's not perfect. I got a little bit of distortion going on. A lot of that had to do with I didn't take enough of the paint off of the back side of the piece when I fitted it up, and you got those gases coming up through, causes welding issues. But overall, looks good. May give that a little skim of ABC Glass Plus, and quick sand just to smooth it up after. I don't plan on putting the carpet back in. I'm thinking about possibly bed linering the entire floor instead of putting the carpet in, but we'll see. Now, time to move on to building the cab mount. Now, I hope you guys can see this. This is why I'm choosing to either rebuild the existing mount or make my own mount, because these aren't cheap. A single mount, you can see, is like $160 up to a full set at $776, and these come from the United States, so there would be an import charge and a shipping charge, duties, taxes, blah blah blah. It gets expensive fast. Now I got a nice new piece of material from our workshop, and it's about the right width, so I don't have to mess with that. Now I've marked it off already from the floor brace out to the ear on the end of the brace, or the mount on the actual frame rail. I'm going to build the other portion of the mount after I fix the rocker, which will be after I put that floor pan in another video. So basically I use the other side as reference, from the brace to where the hole should be for the nut plates, about 4 3/4, and the overall length's about 9. So basically cut it and I punch a hole, use the old nut plate, laminate it together to see where I'm at. The piece is up in. Marked it where it's sitting back here. Probably should have been a little bit longer, but I think it's going to be okay. There's a good chance that this sprung back when I cut it out before. Now I found out from the other side this is pitched on a little bit of an angle forward, so I've done the same. Now I'm going to take this back down, weld the nut plate to the material. I've left this much room to work in here so that things don't get in the way. Now before I put this back up, I'm going to dress these welds up here from before, and then put some of this weld through primer on to preserve it. All set up here, ready to weld the nut plate to the mount plate. Got everything all clamped in here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack weld on here, tack weld there, turn everything around, make sure everything's, just to make sure the material's clamped up tight, tack weld it, and I'll show you. And then I'm going to plug weld it. I don't see any reason to grind it off. It's up on the inside. Nut plates tacked on. Getting some penetration. Looks like it's in the middle. Finish plug welding this up. This side looks good. Good penetration on this side. Still in the middle. Let that cool off. Put it back in. Well, that was cooling off. I ground this up, especially around the areas where the mount's going to go on each side. Sprayed some weld through primer on it, and I socked this up into position. This is good and tight. You can see the bushing is squished right out to these ears. I think I actually got this in a little tighter than it's supposed to be. I measured the other side from here to there, and I'm about 1/8 of an inch tighter than the other side, so it's really hard to tell. but this is coming up pretty much on my mark. So I'm going to box this, cut a piece for here and extend it long, box that in so that it's more square than the last time, and then that'll be in position. Come back, weld this into here, and then hopefully I can manipulate this up into place on the other side and bend this up to match that, and then just weld along the edge of here. That's the plan. So well, I'll catch you up in a minute. Cut the leftover piece just in half, tack screwed it in. Got a couple cut a piece to go up his side and up the other side. Left it extra long this time. Shouldn't be an issue. Tack it in. If I'm happy, weld it in. That's exactly what's at the bottom. Alright, there's the front side piece. I'm gonna get the welder out, tack that in, then cut the other side and tack it in. Alright, tacked in. Looks good. It's not 100% 90, it's actually tipped out just a tiny bit. It's hard to see, but it is. This side, same. Looks good. And I'm going to fab up the piece that goes in here. This is on a lean like that, so this side's shorter, this side's longer. Do a mirror image so that you get the right piece, and it'll fit in the hole. And I'm not going to plug weld it, I'll just weld it on the edges. Now this is the piece talking about. There's a difference of about 3/8 of an inch, so you know, measured 1 inch, measured 1 3/8, draw a line, clamped it down. I just bang that over with the hammer, and be able to trim it off so it's 1 inch all the way along. Should fit up in there. Alright, so there's the piece that I made up in there. I should have gave it a little more than 3/8 to get the angle a little better, or running downhill a little bit here. It's not a big deal. Now trim it here, trim it there, trim it off here. I could butt weld it to the other piece, but I think overlapping it will be much easier. This has got a lot of cobbled up lines on it. Once I get this cut, put it back up in there, it'll probably make perfect sense. So there's the piece, all chopped out, sanded up. Now you're all probably thinking, oh, hey man, that doesn't look right. Well, give me 1 second. But that piece basically fits right in there. Now the other side needs a bracket as well, and it's exactly the same. It just goes the opposite direction because it's on the other side. So I can use this as a template, put this up against there, mark it, rotate it, let it lay down, mark the edges. It just has to be a little bit longer, and then I only have to put 1 bend in it. Now basically all I did was took a bigger piece of metal, put that on there like that, drew around it, put that down there like that, drew around it, cut it off with the cutting wheel. Now I've marked the spot where the bend's gonna be. This one's folded up, so that one needs to fold down. Pretty simple. It's a little extra long. Trim off what I don't need after. Now it's not a perfect 90 under there, so I'm going to leave it like that because I have to stretch it back. It's up in there like that, so it's kind of nice when it turns out right the first time. Now this angle's a little bit out. I want this nice and straight up and down, so I'll just mark it here, mark it down there, there, and there, sorry. measure across and cut a straight line. That one's tacked in. It's the same on the other side. I'm gonna weld all this up and I'm done. I'll bring you back. I'm gonna do a little bit at a time because I don't want heat transferring into this rubber bushing. This side all welded in, and this side all welded in. Over here, since the metal is good and hot, I just beat it with a hammer and a screwdriver up into place, put a weld on the end. Don't have to do anything extra there. Now I'll go over this with a wire wheel and put some black paint on it when I'm done. And now I can move up to the top side and plug weld in these braces here that attach to the floor. There, all welded up, ready to grind. And if you don't think it penetrated to the back side, give me 1 second. As you can see, burned in really good. I even plug welded the screw holes from both sides. Now, like I said, I'll scuff this over with the wire wheel, hit it with some aerosol paint. Okay guys, so after getting attacked by the wire wheel, I'm gonna throw some paint on that and call it a day. Peace.